Ah, you guys, good morning. It's a new week. A lot to say, but then you just have to keep showing up and keep doing what we do best. Sometimes it feels just like they used to say, it's very lonely at the top. It's also very hard getting to that top. It, there's a lot of effort one has to put into this craft in order to make a breakthrough. But regardless, we keep pushing, regardless of the outcome, the pain, and everything and more. So yeah, I just executed my first trade this week on JP 225. So this is the daily time from you. We are aware on how we actually got an entry right from this point to this point. So this is another entry I have here. Let's look at it on the 4 hours. Let's look at it on the 4 hours. Yeah, this was it. So I've actually been having good setup on GP. This one here, I didn't take this. These are we executed it together. And likewise now, I'm currently on this trade now. Well, I'm actually on this trade is like I said, a bunch of liquidity here. Though I wish JP can obviously pull back into the zone before we continue the buy. But what happened was the fact that this is also a liable uh, a zone that can actually continue that can actually sponsor the buy too. So, but then I wish it could be here. But since I've gotten a confirmation right here on 15 minutes time frame, I got a confirmation. Uh, I got a confirmation right here on 15 minutes time frame. This can serve as a break of structure. You know, if I was actually looking forward to this zone for my buy continuation, if I'm actually looking forward to this zone as my buy continuation, then this zone here actually swept this low. So with this market gap, we actually have a good push down, probably to mitigate this other block here. And since we mitigated the other block, we actually had a good push. So I've been watching it for over 2 hours now because I was waiting for the 4 hours close. Because the initial 4 hours was more like a doji, it's more like a doji in the Isha candle here, which you have here, which you have here. So I just waited for another. Yo, what up, guys? Good day. It's another blessed day. So to give an update about my trade on Monday, which was JP 225. So here's the trade here. Okay. So markets moved a bit in our direction before eventually dropping, and I think around 3 a.m. market eventually hits. I woke up around 3 a.m. to check my chart and realized that around 3 a.m. I've hit SL. So it was really, really draining. It was really, really draining, and so throughout yesterday, then Tuesday, I could not even I don't think I even analyzed the chart yesterday. I looked at the chart a bit, but I was not too active. It was just a my group that one of my guys dropped a good setup. One of my guys dropped a good setup, and which I was able to bank like if not 700 pips on that. I took the sell around I think around there. I took the sell around there and I hit take profit around there, but I didn't execute the trade on my bigger account. I just executed about like an account or two. Sure. I just executed the trade on two accounts, but because it's not my setup, check it. It's not my setup. It's just one of my trusted pals in my trading community group that dropped the setup, and it looks nice. Then a breaker block setup, so I was able to jump on it, and yeah, at least I can use that one to hold for the hold. So yeah, to talk about US oil. On Friday, we actually had a buy setup on this US oil, which I didn't take. I didn't take the buy setup. And it's amazing that that was the setup that eventually ended up playing out for the week since Monday. So yeah, so I didn't take this trade like I mentioned. I took this trade which I hit SL on Thursday if I remember vividly. On Thursday, I took this one to on Monday. I think yeah, I took this one to on Monday which I hit SL. This was when I lost 1%, and this was when I lost 0.5%. So this trade, I was a little bit skeptical about US oil. So that was why I didn't even bother to take the trade, and it ended up playing out. So trading is really, really mind disturbing, honestly speaking. So yeah, right now it's amazing that I'm having this on JP 225. If you look at this range here, this is more like a resistance on support. So if you look at the and in on Monday, I mentioned that I would have loved market to actually come down to this zone because if you look at it on the daily time frame, that was what I was saying. That was my projection. I was actually looking at market coming down to this zone for a buy before we eventually target all this place. So now, with what I'm having right here, I know I've gotten a confirmation of 4 hours, but it's crazy, so crazy these days that 4 hours is not even enough as a confirmation. This was a 4 hours close. I got this 4 hour close. That was why I took this trade. But it's currently at my zone. fine and cool. But I'm not going to lie to you. This is me being real. I'm still skeptical about if the trade is going to play out. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still really skeptical about the trade playing out. So, but then let's do something. Let's do something. Let's do it together. So this is recorded live. I can mix. I'm currently down 6% on my 25K account because last week it was 5%. So taking this JP was 1%. So I'm currently down 6%. So why not? Since I'm not sure of the trade, but this is where I'm expecting market to eventually buy from if Apex wants to buy. So let's take a buy together. Let's take a buy together and put my SL to be here. Put my SL to be here and my SL to be here. If I target just 1 to 3 and target just 1 to 3 and risk 0.3, 0.5% on this trade. I think this is not going to be bad if I just fix 0.5% on this trade. But then I'm not going to lie to you, I'm skeptical. Let's look at 1 hour. Let's look at 1 hour. We actually have a good candle push on 1 hour. Let's look at 15 minutes. Nothing solid on 15 minutes. Nothing solid on 15 minutes. This is really hard. But this is my zone, honestly. This one is zone. This was where we first took the first trade. Mm, And this trade can conveniently be 1 to 3. It can conveniently be 1 to 3. Let's see, am I targeting this? That means I'm targeting this high. This zone has been violated. This zone has been violated. And on the daily time frame, the drop was very impulsive. So you never can tell. You never can tell what might eventually happen. Okay, okay. This is really hard to say. You're coming from this range here. You're coming from this range here. And this is more like another range here. Yeah, no, I'm in trying. No, I'm in trying. I'm doing this live. I'm doing this live. I'm risking 0.5% on this trade. If I lose it, that's fine and cool. And if I win it, because I think I'm actually beat myself more if this trade actually goes my way. Because in on Monday, I was eventually looking for market to pull back to this range first. So if I lose the trade, fine and cool. And that's setup will come. So let's just but it's actually JP is actually corrected with gold. So let's see what is gold currently doing. Can this zone sponsor a buy on gold? I doubt if this zone can sponsor a buy on gold. I'm not the kind of trader that is really skeptical on taking a trade, but because of how deep my drawdown is, that's why I'm actually be skeptical to really execute this buy. But uh, there are many ways to die. I think today this pair is not going to kill me today. So yeah, I'm risking 0.5% on this trade. Whatever the outcome is, I accept my risk. So I will update you guys later. Yo, what up, guys? Good morning. This is another blessed day. So what do we have here? Just like we talked about yesterday, that I currently have a running trade on JP right here. So last night before going to bed, I was active to get a confirmation. You remember we took this trade right here, right here. So we actually had this spike, and then I think there was a news yesterday. I think there was a news yesterday. So we actually had this pump, this push, thinking that, oh yeah, yeah, we are good to go, good to go, good to go. So we actually have this drop. I was even thinking it's going to be a retail mitigation, or breakout and retest. So which means we have a break here and this retest. So and just like we are aware that I risk 0.5 have on this trade, in which I'm supposed to risk 1% based on I'm still at 6% drawdown. So which means I still have 1% to risk before I go down to 0.5. But because I was skeptical about this trade, so I took these with 0.5. So before I slept yesterday around 12 o'clock, I waited for confirmation and I got a confirmation here with this push at 2 hours time frame. Yeah, 2 hours time frame. Yeah. Right. See, no, was it 2 hours I used? Or it was 1 hour. It was actually 1 hour I used. So it was around here I got the confirmation. I was waiting for this line to be taken out. This line here to be taken out. So when I got it, and it was around, I think it was around 12:30 or so. That was when I entered my bag here. So it's more like a sniper. So it's more like a sniper bag. So you get it's more like a sniper bag. So um and I slept I slept up there. I used to wake up this morning and realize that because on my second entry, yeah, I was risking 0.5 on this trade, and I was actually risking 0.5 on this trade too because the trade actually looks solid to me based on these impossible movement I was seeing. But then this spike almost took me out here. Very, very close. In fact, even because of the broker spread that was quite okay. This is supposed to take me out. So now, so we actually had this, and I was having this, which I thought that okay, yeah, man is good to go, man is good to go, man is good to go. But it's crazy how the market has been moving really, really shitty, and it seems like this trade is going to be an hell for me. It's really going to be an hell for me. So I've lost interest in this trade because on 15 minutes time frame, 15 minutes time frame, I could see this kind of push. This push is not impulsive, honestly. This is not the kind of push I actually look forward in when I want to take a quality setup. I've taken the setup already. That was why I could not do anything about it. So because see this push, this sell push, see this sell push. So which means this buy is just a retracement. The sell is actually this move here. So if this trade hit SA and to minimize my risk because I'm risking 1% on these two trades, I actually don't have interest in this trade again. But to minimize my risk, rather, to minimize my risk, so I'm actually going to look forward to putting this particular trade to put the SL to this place, this particular first entry to put the SL to this place. So I think this should cover like 0.5. So with that, because of probably the spread is going to have accumulated on this, swap will have accumulated on this trade. So it makes sense for me to just put my SL down to this zone here. So so it is what it is. It's really, really painful that I really don't know, sir. I really don't know. I really don't know. But obviously, I've been skeptical about this trade in the first place. But it's crazy how yesterday every pair pumped, BTC pumped, good on good pump, GU, EU, even US oil pumped, and this pair was just stagnant and thinking that it's going to really do something massive. It's really, really draining, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Trading is draining. Is draining. And this US oil later eats my take profit. This trade is going to be a good trade for me if I actually do something as this because I've been watching it. If I actually do something as this, and target this, I probably 1 to 3, something as this. But I'm just going to sit it out. I'm going to sit the setup out. I'm drained, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Emotionally, physically, I'm drained over this price action that has been really, really ongoing. It's so unfortunate that I tend to be on the losing side. Why take for instance that this is me saying that I'm going to sit this trade out. Yeah, this is me saying I'm going to sit this trade out, and before you know it, maybe I will come back and say that okay, this trade actually did well. Shake I can start that kind of thing they happen, and I'm actually going to beat myself up to it. But looking at it on 1 hour, why I said I was going to this trade is actually a very good trade was the fact that okay, let's say this was a instant on support, and I was actually having this exhaustion in which this actually looks like a good push. But then when it actually had this good push, it didn't break below this low here. It didn't break below this. When we actually had this good push, it could not go below again. So it just started doing a lot of apparel, just like what was happening here. Just like this kind of situation is similar to this. So we actually had this good push, and it's something that it's worth it to take a buy. But regardless, this week I just want to have accepted my loss for this week. If this JP hits my SL, I'm going to be losing. Let's just approximate it to be 1%. So I lost 1% on Monday over this buy, and this is me losing another 1%. And today is Thursday. It wasn't on Monday, yeah. It was on Tuesday. It was on Monday, yeah. I took this trade on Monday. Took this trade on Monday. So I'm down 7% on my in this trade eventually there's I'll be down 7% on my 25K account, and I have 5 more percent to risk as regards to these accounts. So 5%, I still have 10 more shots. This is 0.5 on all my trades. It's as good as that. So this trade is a good setup. Or should I even risk 0.5 on it? Hmm. It's really, really draining. It's really, really draining. I'm not going to lie to you. How many have 3.2? I just risk 0.5 on this trade. Let me see on 4 each. As 4 each close, when is 4 each closing? 4 each is closing the next 30 minutes. So this is still, the 30 minutes is still negligible, obviously. So let me just do it this way. I'm going to risk an 0.5 half on this trade. That means I'm risking about, I'll just risk about 150 just because if I eventually close this trade, I will still be left with some change. with some change. So yeah. So let me risk 0.5 on this trade. This is, I'll be putting it right here. So if it's held to such is like we move on. So, and regardless of the outcome of this trade, this is going to be my last trade for the week. We are taking, that means we are taking 3 trades for this week. One on JP, one JP on Monday, one JP yesterday, which was Wednesday, and today being Thursday. Another another trade. Eh, so that's all for now. I will update you guys. And like I said, I'll be adjusting it to this zone here. Like, let me just, I'm going to leave it to this zone. I adjust this one to this zone here. So at the end of the day, it's still going to be, yeah, just to this. Yo, good morning, guys. So today being Saturday, to give update about my third trade for this week. You remember this trade we took on, this one, I'm not on this trade. Remember the trade we took on 4 hours? So in which actually got this, and that we took together. So this trade actually did how many hours before it moved back? At least 1 hour, yeah, 1.2. So it's actually retraced, and on the 1 hour, let's say on the 1 hour, it actually retraced back to my entry right here. Right here. It actually retraced back to my entry. I was watching it right here, and I eventually closed right here on the 15 minutes time frame, and that was me done for the week. So when I actually saw this pullback, actually because I was like, okay, yeah, this is not like a instant on support, so expectedly we are supposed to keep pushing. So I actually had the so having this retracement back to this one here, I could not take it. I could not take it. I could not emotionally. I could not take the loss if I thought it's going to take me out. So I eventually closed right here. I think right here. This is it attached on the screen right here. So I just left the market since that time. I think this was on Thursday. So on Thursday I was not doing anything. Friday, this is it. I was just practically studying, and that's what I actually look forward to doing over this weekend. So I actually have new setups tied up for next week. I think JP is still going to buy, or before I actually attempt that. Funny enough, I've reduced mine because if you realize this week I only took 3 trade, like a single trade on JP. So that's because I'm only restricted at the moment. I want to reduce my peers, so I only trade JP, US oil, and BTC. And BTC, I could not engage the buy for this week. I could not engage the buy for this week because it keeps spiking, and you know the rule of premium and discount. So I feel like any zone I'm buying from is more like a premium level, and it just keeps spiking. Even when I got an entry on it, but that was me just trying to jump over the pump, not something that is technically reasonable. So that was why I was not really big on US oil. So on JP, I actually look forward to still buy on JP, but then this range needs to be taken out. This high needs to be taken out because this is actually a very good zone, and for the fact that it's still holding this support. This support is still holding and it's still taking it. Yeah, I feel like it's actually a good avenue for me to still buy. But then I'm not going to just risk a buy blindly. So I'm going to watch over next week if I actually got my confirmation before I eventually engage the buy. So for this week I lost 1.5%. 1% on JP on Monday and another approximately close to 1% on JP on Wednesday, but because I was able to cut my risk short, yeah. So I didn't maybe probably 0.75%. So the USY I took that I eventually closed at I think $40 was something that actually brings me forward a bit. So I'm currently at 6.5% drawdown on my 25K account. So it's not actually a productive week for me, but market has really, really, really been shitty these days. And the one thing about that I noticed is this thing is happening to almost everyone around me, even people that we don't trade the same strategy. they're actually feeling the heat at the moment. But one thing about trading is personal. So you can't say because other people are failing, so you should be comfortable with your own downfall at the moment. So which means this is an avenue for me to still get on my feet and know how to address this because everyone's growth is actually proportionate to how they tend to address it. So because other people are not getting it right does not mean that I have to be comfortable me also not getting it right. So I still have a lot of work to do, and I still have a lot of patience to do as regards to this chat. It's so funny that it's only when after you hit essay that's when you're actually going to realize your mistake. And one thing about trading is you can't get tired of your mistakes. Like there are always every lessons to learn from every trade. Take for instance now on this JP, I actually have a good training. I had this, I didn't take this, but I was able to execute this. And from this zone down to this zone, this is me hitting Excel. So this zone here, I just like I said, this actually hit Excel because I was able to bring this Excel to this zone here. So I don't mean I cover this whole range. I didn't mean I cover this whole range. This trade might actually be running. Yeah, it might actually be running. So I feel like it's still a very good trade. So let's see how next week is going to be if at all we'll continue the buy. But then this moment is a moment to actually trade less and see what your strategy brings for you. Since I'm down 6.5%, I'm back to risking 0.5% till I'm able to come up back up to if my next trade is a win with me risking 0.5%, then that might actually give me an avenue to risk 1% on my next trade. So thank you so much. Please do well to subscribe and follow for more.